It's good, my beautiful students. Actually a little excited to do this lesson. I got a little coffee in my system and had a little lunch. So it's like, let's get it. Even just fresh cut, makes a guy feel good. So I'm ready. Hope you're ready too. We can kind of monitor my beard over the next couple months. I think I'm gonna grow it out and just let it get big and see what happens. So Um, yeah, that's an update on me right now. So let's take a peek at what we got going on today for this lesson. We are going to look at the distributive property, which I'm sure a bunch of you are familiar with. And you'll know by my crummy writing that I don't have my tablet yet, but when I get it, I'll be even more excited. You'll be having to, turn down the volume because I'm gonna be going crazy. So distributed property, and then that's actually going to tie in with down here once we get into these problems. We're going to tie it in with combining like terms from last lesson. But let's look at distributed property. There's things that I like to do, and I like to do them the way that I do them. And once I teach you this way, I think it's really important that you just do it the way that I teach it. Um, and I just can't reiterate that enough because I like to form good habits, good math habits, and good math habits go a long way. They reduce errors, and we want to have good habits. So let me show you what the distributive property is. Okay, the distributive property basically means we're going to multiply 7, and once you see a parentheses, anytime you see a parentheses, it means you're multiplying. So even if I had like a 4 here and I had a 5 here, that means 4 times 5. So we'd get 20. Now in that case, um, we're going to do the same thing with all this junk we see over here. Now what we're seeing here is we have 7 times this quantity. Okay, it's a quantity. I'm going to call it that because it's inside of a parentheses. Now, how do we multiply 7 times this quantity? We're going to use the distributive property. Let me show you what that looks like. That means we're going here, and then we're going here. And I like to draw those arrows every time I do the distributive property because it's visual and it's going to help you. Okay, so watch what we do here. We say 7 times 1 is 7. And then you need to be very careful because this sign right here is always stuck to this guy. So what we have now is 7 times negative 8, and we're negative 8n, really. But I'm more focused on the 7 positive times a negative. We did that last time. 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. And then we have our n. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, same thing here. Boom, boom. Okay, what we've got going on here is negative 6 times 9. That's negative 54. And you know what I kind of want to do? Since we want, yeah, we're gonna have to do it that way. Well, I mean, you remember how I was telling you to put the variable first? I think on the assignment that I'm going to give you right now, I'm going to give you some options. So you can either put the variable first or not the variable first, and it'll still mark it correctly. You just need to make sure that you don't put any spaces in between your stuff. Okay, so let's continue with this problem and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here we have negative 6 times negative 9v. Remember, because here we go negative 6 times 9, we got negative 54. Then we have negative 6 times negative 9v. A negative times a negative, since they have the same sign, is a positive, and negative 6 times negative 9 is a positive 54. And then we have that v here, right? Like V-bucks. Okay, now you're probably thinking like, what do you mean I could write it a different way? Well, you could switch this and put the variable first. So here you'd put the variable first, which would be a positive 54v, and then you'd have the negative 54 after. Man, it's so hard writing with my finger on this trackpad. Up here, you'd have the negative 56n first, and then you'd have the positive 7 second. But if you want to leave it this way, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to give you that option to not move it around because in moving it around, you might mess yourself up, to be honest. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy. We're going here, and we're going here. Now, what's kind of tricky here is that there's nothing in front of the n. So realistically, what's in front of the n? It's a 1, right? So I have negative 9 times 1, that's negative 9, and then we have our n. And then we have negative 9 times positive 6, which is a negative 54. And in this case, you can see that the variable's first. Okay, so whatever we get, you can just leave it like that, but I'll make sure in the answer key that I put it both ways so you kids don't get marked down. On this next problem, you're probably thinking like, yikes, what's going on here? Because it doesn't look the same. And when you kids see something that doesn't look the same, you freak out traditionally. Well, you see on these problems that the number outside of the parentheses is in front. So why don't you just move this guy to the front and write, hey, negative 9 in the front, and then I've got my 5k minus 10. You see that? I mean, just move it to the front. And then we're going to say, hey, distribute, right? We're going this guy times this guy times this guy. Negative 9 times positive 5, I think, is a negative 45 with a k. Don't forget the k. And then negative 9 times negative 10 is a positive 90. What do you think about that? And that's our distributive property. Pretty simple. I mean, today's assignment isn't going to get too crazy. I think our Thursday, Friday assignment's going to get a little crazier, to be honest. So why don't you take some time right now, and let's do these guys right here. I want you to do 2, 4, 6, and 8 on your own. Go ahead and press pause and bust those guys out. And then I'll just write the answers down, and you can kind of check your answers and see how you did. This guy's negative 8b minus 24. This guy is, remember, okay, so here's a little tricky. Do you see a number out here? You're like, I just see a negative. So what this really is, it's a negative 1 out in front. So anytime you see just a negative out in front, make it a negative 1. And now you're like, oh, okay, now I can do that. This becomes a negative 3x. And then negative times a negative is a positive. We have a positive 9. Okay? This guy here, this guy here. It looks like it's negative 10. And you can put a 1 here if you want. Negative 10 times 1 is negative 10. We get a. And then negative 10 times positive 2 is negative 20. Okay, last one. I think we get negative 16, right? Negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. Negative 4 times positive 3p, I think, is negative 12p. Boom. All right. Hopefully that's easy for you so far. Okay, so let's drop down here. And what's going to happen now is we are actually taking the distributive property and combining like terms and putting them into one problem. Okay, so the first thing, remember, if we're dealing with order of operations, right, in order of operations, we're going to do multiplication or division before we do addition or subtraction, right? So what you want to do here is you want to make sure you multiply first, right? We want to do the distributive property first. We're going to go boom, and we're going to go boom. So negative 6 times 1x, I'm going to put a 1 right there, is negative 6x. Negative 6, come on, x. Negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12. And then this guy just drops down, okay? We just drop the minus 2 down. Now what this looks like to me is it looks like the assignment we just did before, combining like terms. You say these are my x's and these are my non-x's, right? So I have my negative 6x. And then what if you owe 12 and you owe 2 more, you owe 14. Right? You owe 14. Okay? What's next down here? Let's look at this one. Ooh, this one's looking a little crazy. And it's important that we go over this one because, let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, I can zoom in. I love it. It's important that we do this one just because it looks weird. And at first glance, if something looks weird, you just need to just calm down and say, I got this, right? I got this. Now, I told you that we do the distributive property first. And the biggest mistake somebody could do would just to take the 7 and go boom and boom. Okay, and why I say that's the biggest mistake is because this number out in front is a -7. Anything that comes in front of this number right here is stuck. Okay, so watch what we're going to do. We're going to distribute this guy, and then we're going to drop this guy down in front. Okay, so this -3 is going to just drop down in front. And now we're going to distribute. What's a -7 times a -3? Okay, it's a positive 21. And then we have -7 times -6v. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. We get 42v. V. Okay, and now let's combine like terms. Okay, v's. Do I have any other v's? No. Number. Okay, so what's -3 plus 21? Well, the 21's bigger. So we're going to keep that sign, which is positive, and subtract. 21 minus 3, it looks like is 18. Okay, and then I'm just going to drop this guy down. Plus 42v. And some of you kids are like, okay, well, what if I want to make it pretty and put the 42v in front? Then do it. 42v plus 18. It's fine. I'm going to have both of those answers in the assignment. So it'll give you full credit either way. Yeah. Okay, 10 and 12 on your own right now. So make sure you press the space bar for pause. You do 10 and 12 nice and slow on your own. And then we're going to go over it and we'll might be done. 10's going to be tricky. So I really, really, really want you to focus on 10. I'm going to give you a hint right now. I'm going to give you a hint. Okay, do you see a number in front of here? No, you don't. You need to put a 1. So this is really -1. So look, I'm going to circle it. This is our -1 right here. And that's what you need to distribute. Okay, so go ahead and press pause, work on 10 and 12, and come back to me when you're done. Okay, that means this 4n that's way out in front here is just going to stay out in front. He's just going to be kind of cruising, chilling out in front. Okay, what's -1 times +7? Well, it's -7. And then we have -1 times -6n. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, and 1 times 6 is 6. And we have that n there. Okay, and it's up to you now to figure out what the like terms are. N's, non-n's, right? So what's a +4 and a +6? It's a +10 n, and then this guy just drops down, -7. Okay, if I hadn't given you that hint with the -1 in front, you probably would have gotten it wrong, but I did. I had to give it to you. You know, I didn't want you kids all doing it wrong and then just getting it wrong. Okay, so last one. Okay, distribute. Remember, this is a -5 out in front. So -5, well, you can even put a 1 there if you wanted. -5 times 1a is going to be a, let me change my color up. It's going to be a -5a. Can't wait to get this tablet. You guys have no idea. Okay, -5 times -6 is a +30. I think I did that right. Yeah, -5a, +30. And then this guy just, he just tags along. And we put him at the end. Okay, time to combine like terms. I think my like terms are A's, and this guy's something else. So if you owe 5 apples, oh shoot, it's -5a plus 2a. So let's kind of see, we got a negative and a positive here that we're combining. Which one's bigger? The 5, so our answer is going to be negative. What's 5 minus 2? 3a. And then this guy just kind of cruises down and shows, +30. Boom. You like that? Yeah, yeah. Okay. You're gonna have some practice problems to complete. Make sure that you are very careful with how you put things in. I don't want any spaces in between your work. So just put like a negative 6x minus 14, no spaces, no nothing, and then you can go on to the next question. Okay, I don't want you're gonna get it marked wrong if there's a space in there. I am gonna have the retries though. You'll have one retry per question. I think that'll be just generous and nice in case you kind of mess up. You get another shot at it. It'll help your grade, which is really what I care about. Okay, so kick some butt on this. I can't wait to see some good scores, and I'll see you guys for next class.